Hi, welcome. I'm La Bruja, and we have another great, exciting interview. First, let me introduce my co-host, Dave.
How you doing?
Hey Dave, what's up?
And we have Zillah and Sid from Rubella Ballet.
Hi.
Welcome.
And I am going to fully admit that you are the first interview that I'm nervous about because I'm such a huge fan for so long. It's like I'm totally fangirling out right now.
Yeah, she's been very giddy. Even before you guys logged on, I said, "Are you nervous?" She's like, "Yes."
Yeah, I'm
well, you mentioned 1987. I was playing, and I realised that you actually do know us. So it's really nice to be.
And you look amazing as well.
By someone who actually knows us, it's great.
Yeah. So you guys have, like, as far as like the entire punk scene, you guys literally were there from the beginning. Like,
yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Basically, I became a punk in 1976.
I'm going to let Zillah talk. She's the one with the memory.
Yeah. But I was a punk before the Sex Pistols were on TV. So I was already part of the scene of people that were getting dressed up and going out and sort of trying to find other people and wondering what was going on. And so I was only 15, and I was sitting with my friend who was also a punk, and we were sitting down one day at tea, and suddenly the Sex Pistols came on TV, and it was like, her mum sort of said to us, "Oh wow, now I know what punk's all about. It's about swearing." And we was like, is that what punk's all about? So,
is it because you already look weird then? Is that what you're saying?
No, I started dressing up as a punk.
That's what I mean, weird.
Well, yeah, I was putting, we knew that it was
Different
going to
stuff.
be called punk, but we hadn't met everybody, and we were still sort of experimenting. And then everybody knew what punk was once we'd been, once the Sex Pistols had been on TV. That was it. Everyone was a punk. So.
Oh wow.
what inspired, like, was it start off like a fashion statement or?
It's really hard to explain, but it was definitely a fashion thing. So when I was about 15, everything was fashion was every season. So you'd always be keeping up with the fashion. And I lived in East London, and that's where all the clothes were made. Well, normal clothes for fashion shows and everything. So we always used to follow the fashion a little bit with David Bowie and all that, so it was a bit tough, and everybody would be wearing all that sort of thing. But people started to put a little bit of colour in their hair, and then I think it sort of progressed from there. A couple of people would put like earrings in, and it was basically looking a bit like David Bowie. But as it progressed with people, like, the other thing you noticed really straight away was instead of flares, everybody was wearing straight trousers. So that, and dustbin liners, and people would start making up ideas about what they were going to wear and everything. So you'd just go somewhere and you'd see someone wearing something different. You think, all right, that's punk. I can do something a little bit like that. And then when it was on, when the Sex Pistols were on TV, then everybody knew about the shop Sex, Seditionaries. So some people went there, but not many. There wasn't really many shops to buy.
You had to have big money to go to that shop. That was like, it was ridiculous. I mean, you had to be rich to go there. It was just ridiculous.
Oh, wow.
It was like,
well, most people I knew, they went and stole the stuff from there.
yeah.
Like, if they went there, they stole the stuff. Otherwise, they didn't go there at all. It was still quite high fashion, wasn't it, really?
Yeah, it was really weird. They were like, when I went there in
a lot of people copied their ideas.
I was like, why are there like a load of teddy boys at the back? And it turns out they were the Sex Pistols, but I had no idea. I was really kind of like, there was like a bloke in a gimp suit, and I think that turned out to be Malcolm after time, didn't it?
Yeah, and also
really weird shop. It was like, what are these weirdos?
It'd be a mix of punky sort of teddy boy style.
You knew something was going on though. Like, you could feel it. You could feel the energy in it. It was totally nuts.
And it was also a time when there was no social media, so we couldn't actually look at people.
There was nothing. There was no music.
There
was nowhere to go. It was the end of the 70s, and it was horrible. But the music on TV was like the Osmonds and stuff like that. Fleetwood Mac, and like stuff you want to kill yourself to. There's like, I think for me, I was rebelling because everything in my life was just like hated it. It was just so boring, and I didn't want to conform. And you're getting told at school to do this, do that, and I didn't want to do that. I was totally. I mean, all my reports are, and I see the things. I'm 6'9" now. I was like a huge kid. My reporter, he turns up every day without the right clothing. Yeah, because he's 9 foot tall at school. From an early age, like, I didn't have shoes. When I met Zillah, I had no shoes. Couldn't get clothes to fit. I've been a freak most of my life. So punk was like, hang on, if I mixed that with me, you wouldn't really notice. So I became like a freak that was a punk. And then we did things to our hair, we bleached our hair.
Yeah, I think
we wrote "fuck off" on it. You get a shirt, you write "fuck off" on it. And I noticed a lot of people were doing that if they didn't like.
It was a progression, like punk.
You'd nick your dad's shirt at the cupboard, and he'd write "fuck the system." Or in my case, I spelt it wrongly. It said "fuck the Sizons." It's like I said, but we didn't know. It wasn't like there wasn't a handbook you could like, you know, you could like Google how do you become an authentic punk. Get a studded leather jacket. Well, it's like
that's why that was there. Yeah, that's why so many of my fashion ideas have become fashions. So, for instance, like people wearing net skirts or doing blue eyebrows. I was doing that in 1979. You know, so quite a few doing my
makeup on
different colours. You know, that's a new thing now. But I've been doing it since 1979. So, I mean, Louise Gray, the fashion designer in England, she said that she was inspired by me and made some fashion, you know, some clothes for her seasons. And you think, well, at least she mentioned me. So I think the whole thing about punk is that when we first started, we was coming up with ideas, weren't we? So we just progressed with our different ideas as we've gone along. And it's like, if you look at punks when they first started, they had short, spiky hair. By the time the late 80s, we all had really massive spiky hair. But that was because we were all sort of competing against each other for the best spiky hair, wasn't it? And you know, the longest and stuff. So I think it's a progression, punk, and it should be different for everybody. It should be about, you know, your own identity and what you want to do.
At what point, you know, because like I said, you were there pretty much from the beginning. What point did it start getting political? Because you guys started getting political, started having protests and stuff like that.
Well, to tell you the truth,
day one.
I think day one, the minute that the Sex Pistols wrote Anarchy in the UK, every single punk went and looked up what anarchy meant. Yeah. We might not have known before, but we did afterward. You know, so I think a lot of punks that we knew were quite intelligent. You know, they read a lot, they talked a lot, they wanted things to be different, you know. That's why I always think of women as equals on that scene, you know, which is different from previously. And that's why I was part of it, because I was able to do what I wanted. You know, I could be in a band, I could make a film, I could dress how I wanted, you know, and Sid was the same.
Weird, yeah. At the time, we didn't go, oh, look, there's a girl punk. It didn't even enter into your head. It was like, oh, look, there's a punk. It didn't matter what gender you were. And I think now it's all about whether you're a man or a woman. Oh, do you in a punk because of the girls look like we were very, what's the word?
Well, we recognised in each other that we was going to be similar.
We all looked the same and different at the same time. There wasn't like a look for punk. We all had this really individual thing going on.
So that's.
And then as far as music, how was it as far as like putting your music together? Because basically you went off no influence at all. I mean, now you are influenced. Your people's influences, but you guys had no real influence. So what was it that made your music what it was?
I think it was just the fact that we was given the opportunity. So we wanted to try and create something different. So we was always trying to write different types of music.
So there again, we weren't in a space where we went, right, let's go into the rehearsal studios and you play bass and I'll play drums, and
we kept
wasn't like that. Someone asked me today, how did you end up at the Poison Girls' house? Because I lived with Vi and all the Poisons, and that's where Gemma and Pete lived as well. So
that's the son and daughter.
Yeah, the son and daughter of Vice Versa. So there were two kids there, one of whom played guitar, and I was like, well, I've pounded my sofa at home with knitting needles for the past, God knows how long, I don't know. And then basically we weren't allowed to go to they had a rehearsal studio with equipment in it, like a drum kit set up. And we were like, look, when the crack of the door looked through, we were like, look, there's the equipment to do that thing that the Boys and Girls and Crash are doing, that band thing. So we snuck in, didn't we? And I was trying to play the drums quietly, like. So, then we didn't then go, right, let's sound like Crass, which I think I've been talking about this with Zillah quite a lot.
We weren't musicians. Okay?
Like, I was in the T-Rex and Mark Bolan and stuff like that.
You never played drums, had you?
And I never played drums ever.
So I'd never sung in a microphone before. So the first time that I actually was at a gig and sang in a microphone, that came as a surprise. Wow, that sounds different.
We didn't know that we were capable of being a band because we were just wasting time. We were bored stiff in a house. there was a room with that gear in there, so we snuck in there a few times. By the time we got caught, we were resembling a song, like by jamming and stuff. So it kind of started from there, and that was really, it was totally unplanned. Hadn't got a clue what was going on.
But they,
Wow.
know, there was a lot of different people coming and going. Any anxiety? There was a couple of other people that played different basses, different guitars. But
yeah, Ian Asprey from the Cult was in and out. Like, it's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, we just sort of.
But and then every night we were at a gig where I went to the second Crash gig. So from then on, I think we all went to nearly every gig.
Even we used to go to a place called the Triad, which is where it was close to where Crash used to go and play gigs a lot.
Well out of London, yeah, miles and miles out of London.
One night the Epileptics wanted to play, and their drummer didn't turn up, so they on stage asked if someone could play drums. And
yeah, Colin's going, is there anyone, well, our drummer's not turned up tonight, is there anyone in the audience that can play drums? And I looked at Zillah, and me and Zillah looked around like this. No one put their hand up. And Zillah went, go on, you can do it. And I went, I'll do it. That's what happened. I walked on stage.
A couple of weeks before they became Flux of Pink Indians, and then they went and recorded New Smell.
Yeah. And I played the whole set. I just kind of made it all up.
That's what I'm saying.
Colin said to me, how did you know all our songs? I don't know. Played it.
So no one was really judging us at that time. It was all about, we were all 18, 19. Gemma was 12, and Pete Fender was 14. So you can tell that everybody was quite young, and all we was really doing was having a good time and trying out different things.
Nothing
for there was so many venues that you could play at that time. There was, people would play in a football club or a local church hall or whatever. Yeah. We played in a church hall around here all the time with Conflict, Crass.
Loads of good Conflict, yeah.
And there was a local pub called the Bridge House that always had loads of bands like the Damned and everybody, and that was just a local East End pub. Yeah, I mean that had Ash Road. But Duran, all them bands.
Because at the time, because there was nothing else to listen to, as soon as the gigs started, that's all we did. Because it was different. Like, you couldn't put the radio on and listen to anything that was other than the crap on the radio. You couldn't put the TV on, was off Top of the Pops and all that crap before. So it was like we were getting a life for ourselves. It was completely alternate from the normal. My mum said to me, "Oh, it's just a phase. You grow out of it."
It's a bit like you was asking about the politics of it all. So basically, it starts off with we're all sort of trying out our own thing, how to become a punk. The Sex Pistols will come on TV, and you think, "Oh, wow, there's gigs and there's these bands we can go and see and everything." But then, Sid Vicious got arrested, and we're all thinking, "Oh no, is this the end of punk? What's going to happen?" We're all really happy being punks, and we're trying to create a lifestyle. And then Crash come along, and they're telling us like, "Oh, this is how." This is the sort of thing you can do, because at their gigs they used to give out recipes on how to make bread. They'd be making cups of tea for people.
Yeah, I was writing. Sorry to interrupt you. I was writing. I'm writing a book, obviously, and I've been writing about I've been kind of going back on what I've written and elaborating on stuff. And I remember it was just so new and I've interrupted and forgot what I was saying.
Just about their lifestyle, isn't it? How they were saying, this is how you can make bread. This is, we drink tea. They didn't all get drunk.
Yeah, it was so weird. It was like, that's it, yeah. So I go out on the ants, it was all glam, it was all, like got bouncers on the door, drink over there, and it had a bar, and it was all kind of very mainstream, I found. And then they'd come on, and then you'd see them for an hour, and then they'd disappear, and then you wouldn't see them again. Well, Crash, you saw them as you walked in the door, they'd probably take your money off you. Oh, how's it going? If you didn't have any money, they'd let you in. And it was like, this is weird. And they'd talk to you, and they'd ask you about you. And then, and it would be...
Well, there was probably less people at the gigs then. They probably
and it was all non-violent. There was no violence. And I think a lot of people think that punk in the early days was, oh, fantastic, what a great place to be, punk. But it wasn't. It was really scary. Because there were other people that didn't like you. Skinheads hated us. In fact, we even found out there was a campaign by the National Front to stop Crass and Poison Girl gigs because of their politics. We happened to be supporting them all the time.
Well, it was also because vice versa is Jewish.
Yeah, we called them riots. Like, some of the gigs stopped because a riot kicked off. Like 50 skinheads turned up the Conway Hall with baseball bats and machetes and were chopping people up. And people were like, no, really, that didn't happen, did it? It was horrifically scary. I mean, if it wasn't for a fact that there were some bikers upstairs having some sort of left-wing meeting, they found out what's going on. They came down, protected us. They fought for us, even though they weren't. It's like when the Bloods and the Crips got together to fight something, I don't know what it was. It was that. It was we hated anything. We hated Nazis, right wing. We hated violence, and we hated the government doing stuff. We hate being told what to do. Since a kid, I've hated being told what to do. Zillah hates being told what to do. The two of us together, it's like, don't, for God's sake, tell us what to do. Have a tsunami of fuck off and all that. And I think it's like that. I wanted to go I moved from Birmingham to London, so I got out of living in the country. So I went from the country to living in Notting Hill Gate in the middle of London. I lived 4 doors away from Adamant.
Wow. Wow.
I came home one day and I was like, that dude, that bloke in front of me, that looks just like Adamant. So like, a couple of days later, I said, that's that bloke again. So I followed him. And I got to my flat. He walked about 6 doors up, went into a flat, and we both looked at each other walking up the steps. And I met him after a gig like some days later, and I went, it's so weird. Was it your gig? Great gig, Adam, and all that. He was like, really quiet. I was like, dude, we lived together. He must have been going, will you go away? And I was like, dude, stand a man. This just lived down the road. So it was like from where I lived to that was just mind blowing. And
wow. That's great.
Yeah, and I think if I hadn't changed and gone, my mate said, I've seen this new band, Crass. I was like, I don't know, I'm into Adam and the Ants. We were like, I was classed as the Adam Ants crew. It was like, that was it. I thought that was it. What I found, it was it. That was it, wasn't it? And I went to this Crass gig, and the second gig, I saw Pinky. I saw Zillah. I was like, wow, my God, I've been obsessed with her ever since.
Were you already wearing Dayglow when he met you?
I was a bit, but actually, what happened at the time was I bought a jumper in a second-hand store it was black with different Dayglow colours through it, and I liked the Dayglow then. And I also bought in one of the second-hand stores a pink fluorescent jumper, a cardigan type thing, and I liked it then. But so I was only wearing bits of it, so I didn't stand out as somebody that was wearing fluorescent, we'll say. But I did have pink hair.
We all had pink hair, didn't we, for some reason?
You know, but I think even with that, when we started Rubella Ballet, it was 1979, and it was quite late. So I was still making my own clothes and wearing punk stuff, obviously. But by around about 1982, when we were doing a tour with Death Cult, so with Ian Astbury, it was then that we found some black lights, and we were thinking, we should do a bit more on stage.
At a butcher's, we were at a butcher's, and we spotted the lights in there and asked them what they were, and they went, they're fluorescent. Black fluorescent lights.
Yeah, so we sort of bought them ourselves, and we was doing it a sort of DIY thing with taking our lights to gigs, and I was wearing more fluorescent stuff back then. But it was the
crowd had smashed them every gig. They put them out like there's little 4 foot strips. You gaffer them to the stage. The stage would be 4 foot tall. You're like 10 seconds into the first song, and the crowd would go, smash them lights.
Right. So, over the years, it's got easier and easier because there's more fluorescent makeup and hair stuff and everything. But it was just.
She was still very bright. The very first day I met her,
it's amazing because, like I said, I saw you guys when you played almost 2 years ago, and it was amazing. I sent Dave videos of your performance. And he was like, wow, that's awesome.
It's really good, really good. It's really good. I've never had a chance to see you guys. I don't know why.
We don't do enough gigs. We need more gigs, I think. It would be great to come back to LA again. We actually really had a good time last time. There was a Part-Time Punks. We played at the Echoplex. Great venue. Really enjoyed it. Nice.
Oh, the Echoplex.
Yeah, that's where we played last time.
Okay.
Before that, when we came in 1987, we didn't have any gigs set up. We just came to stay with a friend because we lived in London, and quite often the people would just turn up at our house and stay with us, So somebody came over from someone called Michael Ray. He came over from Los Angeles and said he wanted to stay with us, and we let him. And we found out he lived in Hollywood, and we was like, we'll be coming to your house. Yeah. And when he told us that, that place with the swimming pool, we was like, we'll definitely come to your place.
Like, where do you live? Beverly Hills. And we're like, do you want to come? All right, then, yeah.
So we decided, me and Sid came over first, and we looked for gigs, and it was the Scream we went to first, and they offered us a contract, and we did the first gig with them, and then we just did a couple of gigs around it, and the other one we played was San Francisco.
Gilman Street.
Yeah, Gilman Street.
Gilman's, yeah.
Oh, Gilman Street, wow.
We played there as well. And
Yeah.
that was another,
It's still there.
Yeah. But we did Maximum Rock and Roll as well, so we had the centre pages for Maximum Rock and Roll. They did an interview with us. Yeah, that was another great gig because it was a community place, wasn't it?
Jealousy Africa.
That's a pretty extreme contrast going from the Scream Club to Gilman Street. That's quite a contrast.
Well, this is one of the things that we like about ourselves is that we think that we're punk. So we think, oh, we'll play with anybody, you know, whether it's like we've played with so many extremely different types of bands. One minute we're doing a goth venue, next minute we're playing somewhere. You know, we played with what's the other mad band that we played with that one? Oh,
Ritual.
No, I mean when we played at like that squat gig that we played in South London. No, the church. I can't remember, but that's.
Oh yeah, totally. You mean I can't remember.
Well, I mean, you know, we played with so many different types of bands that nowadays some of those bands would be typed as extreme metal or something, wouldn't they? Yeah. Heavy metal, I don't know. So, you know,
wasn't it?
You guys have both a large. I mean, you guys both have a following in the punk scene and the goth scene.
Well, you see, when we first started, punk was punk and goth. So everybody dressed up, everybody was different, you know, and it only went later on into goth. Now, when we first were playing with Crass, we played the Anarchy Centre, and the other bands that were supporting us were Sex Gang Children.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Gee, yeah.
You know, we're playing with those sort of bands, Doctor and the Medics, they supported us. You know, it was because those bands were all considered punk at the time. They weren't considered goth until later on. I mean, it mainly when the Batcave, I mean, that really helped to have a separate place for goths to be, which was the Batcave. And we used to go there a lot, didn't we? It was a great little club. But, you know, that's when it started to be more that goth was everyone dressed in black and, you know, the hair done and everything. But it was still punk.
Love it.
Yeah, I mean, if you used to ask any of those punk bands from the beginning, they'd say that they were punk rather than goth.
Yeah.
I mean, now they like to see themselves goth, but, you know.
Yeah. I would say the Scream Club that you played at, that club was a prime example in the LA, because both Dave and I are from LA originally. We grew up, you know, in LA. But yeah, the Scream Club was one of those clubs that was the same. I mean, it wasn't called goth back then. It was punk. It was called death rock.
Yeah,
death rock. Yeah, death rock.
And so
we still refer to our stuff as death rock. Zilla's like, but it's not punk rock. I said, but it is punk rock, but it's kind of got that death edge. And so death rock.
But like in Los Angeles, if bands like Sex Gang Children in the '80s were playing, it was like considered a punk show. I mean, the punk agency was the one that booked it. It was at the punk clubs, so it was.
Yeah,
it was pretty the norm in LA too.
Yeah, but the Scream Club is one of those clubs that you could see both. But then the guys that did Scream Club, they went on to do other clubs that ended up becoming goth clubs, you know, well-known goth clubs in the LA scene. That was kind of, I think, the point, you know, like you said, how they two kind of split up. That was the club that kind of the birth of right before it split up.
I think I know why as well. I've worked it out to the tempo of the music because I keep trying to. People say to me, "What's the difference between Flux Minkinians and Rubella Ballet?" And I said, "Well, not a lot really, because the beat is what I call a standard beat, which is as a standard beat. So you can play tribal to that, right? Whereas a lot of the other punk music doubled it to." So the tempo, in a way, doubled, making a lot of the gigs instant mosh pit. So you get like an instant mosh pit because that was the only way to react, kind of in a way, to that music. Which if you take the doubles snare bit out and do what we do, a lot of our stuff is standard. It's danceable, like dance music. Boom, 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 boom. Money Talks is Money Talks. It's a 120s dance music. And I think when you double the snare drum and make it twice as fast, kind of, it changes the whole aspect of the feeling of the music. I think then that's when it split. I think a lot of bands only played that style of music, then split off into their own little faction, and a lot of bands didn't and stayed with that kind of standard. I mean, I've been writing about it for some reason.
I think it was the music industry that divided it all up like they do everything. They like to divide us up because we was a force to be reckoned with, and they didn't like it. I mean, they put anything on the radio that wasn't punk. The only thing that you could hear was John Peel sessions, and that was only like 1 or 2 bands a week, wasn't it? Plus a bit.
A lot of people say to us, why didn't you make it? And we have to point out that we were approached by practically every major record company. We even spoke to David Geffen personally, to him, Geffen Records. We were like chatting about this because we played with Faith No More, and he was like, oh wow, this, that and the other. And he saw us play with Faith No More, and he was like, this, that, it was great. But they all had one thing to say, which was, we'll sign you, 6-album deal, we'll make you famous. Like, you'll make it, you'll be, and we're like, okay, well, what do we have to pay? What do we got to do? And it would be this, literally, word for word, every record company. Well, we'll just change the way you look. We'll change the name. We'll change all your lyrics.
And can you stop drumming like that?
We'll change the music. Well, yeah, all that drumming, yeah, no, there's no need for all that. You know, you should probably get another drummer even. And we'll change everything to their format, basically what they do with boy bands now. And we're going to turn into fucking Take That. And so every time we're no. We even, I think, who was it? A big company, Polydor, somebody asked us for a demo tape. We sent them a tape of us rehearsing. So it's us going, turn the fucking thing down, do fucking this. And, absolutely hilarious. You got to bleep everything out. So we'd send them rubbish. But even with a letter going, we don't want a deal. Like, F off. Hasn't got us anywhere. It's got us literally nowhere. And the other thing we were saying earlier, that you hadn't got to see us, and a lot of people have said that because we didn't have a machine running us. We didn't have a manager. We didn't have a
it was just me playing.
Yeah, like, it's just Zillah doing it.
So in the early days, I remember being asked if we wanted to play in Ireland, and to get there in those days, you had to get a boat. We didn't have the money to pay for the boat. It was like about £300 or £400, and we was like, we can't risk that much money to come and play and then maybe not get paid, because in those days, quite a lot of the gigs we never got paid. I mean, some of them were benefits, that's okay.
People had joined the band thinking they're going to get money. A few months down the line, give it 6 months, they'd leave. So we'd like get good, we'd like shake them up, we'd start sounding great, we'd actually get good, we'd start getting some gigs, they'd leave. So we'd take 6 months to get back on our feet again. And those are the times when we should have been playing and you didn't see us. And because this happened a lot, we never got round to writing any new music.
Is that why there's such a big gap?
Yeah.
You came out.
My God.
I think 2000. When was it? 2017. Am I right or am I off? That you came out with a new album.
Well, basically, most of our music. So 1979 we started, but I don't think it was till 1982 when we put out the Ballet Bag was the first thing we put out, which was a 9-track cassette in a bag with a poster, which we thought was fun, you know, with a poster, a badge and everything. But because we were costing it on only making 500, and we did it on Eccentrics Records, which was Poison Girls Records, they didn't have any plans to do more than 500. So nothing, you know, even though we sold out within a week, we should have pressed more and so on and so forth. And then I think
we were going to be on Crash Records. I mean, I want to point that to everybody. Everyone says, "Oh, were you on Crash Records?" And we're like, no, we lived with Poison Girls, we toured with Poison Girls, we ate the same table as them. So when it came to a record deal, Pete Fender
and Gemstone,
we were loyal. We went with them.
Of Poison Girls, and so therefore they wanted to start a record label as well, and they asked us to be on their record label. So that was why, not because we didn't like Crass, because we did like Crass. We were good friends with Crass. We did gigs with Crass. Steve Ignorant went out with my sister for a long time. You know,
a lot of people take that out of proportion. The fact that we didn't go on Crash.
I didn't wear Dayglow
because they weren't going to do a colour record. It wasn't anything to do with
I didn't wear Dayglow to be horrible to Crass. No. I did it because Crass wore black and Crass were good at being Crass. Poison Girls wore red and black and they were good at being Poison Girls, you know. X-Ray Specs, we wanted to be different, and so we wanted to be a punk band, that's all. And I just had a different idea.
We wanted to stick out. We wanted to be completely different, a juxtaposition to everything. That's all we've ever wanted to be. And some people have taken it as like, oh, you did it because you didn't like Crass. And we lived down the road. I sat at their table and ate dinner with them more times than I probably did my own family.
Wow.
Wow. You know, our politics are the same as Crass, really, and boys and girls. Because, you know, it was them that gave us the opportunity to do gigs. You know, it was them that told us
where the politics
that we
came
should
in.
be, if we wanted to be in a band, we should, and they'd help us get gigs and everything. And so when we started headlining, we got all our friends to play with us. So, you know, Sex Game Children, all those sort of, what was it, Blood and Roses, and all those sort of
Ritual,
bands. They were all, you know, Euthanasia. They were all bands that were on the scene, Brigandage, and we just did gigs together. And we actually promoted it ourselves. We put the venue and paid for it all ourselves.
DIY, that's what Crass taught when we sat around the house discussing what we're going to do with life in general. Penny said to me I say quite famously, but he said, don't think you're ever going to get anywhere in this like punk game. It's not going to you're not going to go in there and end up with a load of money. It's going to be something you're going to do as something that you're going to dedicate your life to, showing other people the way to do things that is not part of the system, and just like silly things like how to make bread. You know, I'm a chef. I learned how to make food. It's like a magical thing. I can make food. Zillah says, oh, you're going to make dinner, Sid? And I'm like, and Zillah goes, well, I can make it myself, but it's no way in a world, in a million years, going to taste as good as your food. So people can cook, people do try, but there's little secrets you can teach them to, you know, that makes everything that they do feel better, taste better.
Yeah. I have a question for you, Zillah. I know earlier on you said that everybody was accepted for how they looked and everything. And I know back then everybody was wearing black, and even nowadays, even punks nowadays, they all look the same. You know,
no. When I started, they weren't all looking the same. No. When I started, my friend, we was making our own clothes. Really, there was only one place to buy clothes, quite cheap, which was in a market. But we were still making up our style. Now we were wearing things like tartan kilts and tartan trousers because we were copying what we'd seen at seditionaries, and we'd got them in the Oxfam places cheap. And it wasn't a while before my friend suddenly started putting black lipstick, like using eyeliner for a lipstick, and wearing all black. Now, when she wore all black, for the first couple of times when we went to gigs, people were really in shock, because in those days, if you wore all black, it was still a bit like you was in mourning, and people thought it was a bit, you know, dark. And you know, the only other person that wore black was Dave Vanian.
Yeah.
So it took a while, and I think people were actually being a bit different, because even when I went to the first Crass gig, which was the third one that you was at, so the third one, Annie Anxiety was there, and she was wearing like a little pillbox hat with like netting on it, and she was dressed like something from France, or something, you know, in a little pillbox and a pencil skirt and everything. So I think people were really, really wearing different stuff at the beginning, and it's just slowly got into everyone wearing black, because it's so much easier, isn't it, for everyone to just wear black, and you know, whether it's black trousers and black t-shirt.
Yeah.
You know. Also, I think, like Sid said, there was a lot of violence around, and if you did look really, like, say, if you was a man and you had pink hair and you had your makeup on and you was at an Adam and the Ants gig, well, that's fine. But when you come out of that Adam and the Ants gig and you go home on the tube, people don't like you having pink hair and makeup. So I think for
Adam and the Ants, like, we all copied him. We all walked around with one eye, black eyeliner, like all the time. You know, I remember going to work and washing it out in a flipping veg stink.
But you were more noticeable, so maybe it was easier for people to wear black to not get beaten up.
Yeah.
But I think in the beginning people were very different.
I think now it's like, the reason I was asking you is because now, like, if in the punk scene, it's I've seen a lot of internet bullying on females.
Oh yeah.
Because they don't look the part. Like, I haven't been bullied, but I think because I'm older, but I've seen it with a couple of friends of mine. But I'm sure if I put myself out there more publicly, I'm sure I would, because I'm the type of person, I'm the girl that will a woman that will show up to a hardcore show in heels.
Right.
And stilettos. And back then that was the norm, but now it's like, you know, they'll show up, you know, it's like, I stand out. I don't dress like everybody else. And,
good.
But, you know, it's like, I have noticed that it's, you know, a guy can show up in a jean and t-shirts nowadays, or just the full punk outfit, but women, it's like they're being brutally targeted. So that didn't happen back then. I guess.
No, it didn't happen at first, but I do believe that women became. Well, it was more difficult for women to turn up at places and with all these men attacking everybody. So that frightened women off anyway. So a lot of the women that were different were frightened off, I think. Yeah, I agree. I think that people have mentioned it a few times about me. You know, they'll say things. They haven't actually personally bullied me, but because I don't know why. But maybe it's because they know that I'm a punk. But I think a lot of punks today that have just joined the scene wonder why I look like this. Yeah. I think that I think even in the punk scene, I'm considered like different or weird. Yeah. And I think for me,
you know, I don't think anything's changed in society as far as, I mean, even in the 80s. I mean, I used to get chased for having a shaved head, or my friends would get beat up for having mohawks. So I mean, I don't think anything is, as far as we've come, I don't think anything's changed. I think if you're different, you're not.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a shame, because there was a point when punk first started that things did seem like they were changing at first, because like I said about women and equality, and also the thing about, you know, there was a lot of gay people on our scene because they were still having a hard time. I think that changed a little bit. I think Crass with their veganism, vegetarianism, I mean, was you know, that really helped people to understand what was going on with like food in the world and everything. So I think some of those things were beginning to change, but then I do think that the society pushed back on us. They didn't want it to go that way, and I think that more and more they made it back to what it was. You know, people still being chased for wearing Mohican and all the rest of it, and
being called weird for not eating meat.
Yeah. I mean, people still say things to me, don't they?
Yeah.
Do you think because, you know, it just started off as like we were all rebelling and stuff like that, but some of us it became like a movement. Some of us got involved, some of us became active in certain things. Do you think we made a difference?
Yeah, I do, yeah. I don't think it's as big as we wanted, because I remember talking with my friends about it, you know, oh, wouldn't it be great if everyone became a punk and we all fought this way, you know, the judges were going to be like that, and they thought about a different society. So I think we did talk about it as punks and everything, but I think we did make a slight difference, and I think it's helped people to understand like the things I just said, but on the whole, I think that society still recognises it and is pushing back at us, and they don't want us to do that.
Yeah, the 1% know we're here now. Like they know that there are like anonymous, like being anonymous, the ALF being anonymous. You know, having things that you can say. I'm a part of Anonymous. I'm a part of ALF. I'm a part of something that you can't arrest me for because we all share it, you know.
Yeah.
What's the famous one? I think it's because of that. I think they know that there's. I mean, I was talking to somebody who's in the limelight now about him breaking into places and releasing animals and then them going, look, okay, we've got to go now. And he said, like, and I couldn't. There was 2 cages left, and I had to go back, and you know, and it's like because of people like that.
Yeah.
People are changing the way they think. I mean, this whole global warming bullshit. I mean, the fact that we're being fed so many lies, and you know, and I say to everybody, just do your research and everything, because you can find everything on the internet now. I think at the point where they cut that off, they'll know that we're making ourselves like punks. Are definitely bred a complete generation and generations of people that are going to be protest about stuff, that are going to be there as a barrier. Right?
Well, I think we brought up subjects that needed to be brought up, but whether or not we've actually succeeded with everything is a bit. But I think that it's quite difficult. I mean, everything's being surveyed all the time. Everything's on CCTV. We never had any of that when we was younger. No. You know, some of the things that we would have done, it would have been caught on CCTV. You know, it's not going to be any good, is it? So I think it's a lot harder for people today because, you know, there's plenty more laws and people that are like, I believe in America, if you're a member of the ALF and you get caught, you're going to be in prison for a long time.
Yeah.
That's going to stop people.
They actually have the ALF above terrorists.
Yeah, so, you know, when we were doing it, we might get caught, we might go to prison. If you get caught in America, I've heard that, you know, there's long prison sentences.
I have a friend
so
who famously threw a Molotov cocktail over Buckingham Palace gates, like a petrol bomb, lit it, threw it over the gates and exploded, and he got caught and he was let off because his dad was a solicitor. Now they'd hang you. It's like they'd be done for treason. I think back then, because there's no cameras, they didn't say, well, let's look at the 67 angles we have you throwing the petrol bomb. It was like going back to the whole like phone box thing. If you wanted to speak to anyone, you had to go and queue up the phone box down the road.
Yeah.
That was our network.
But do you feel like the way things are right now, does that make you more inspired to write?
Well, we were very surprised when we came to write our first album, just how many subjects we wanted to write about. And it was kind of annoying, really, because we thought, you know, in 1980, when I was writing about global warming and stuff like that, I didn't think it would still be in this situation. It's got worse, you know.
Oh,
so
yeah.
It came as a surprise how much we had to write about. And that's another reason why we got on with the second album, wasn't it? Because there were just so many things. So, like we were saying earlier,
it's definitely like a second part of the first like, we sat down and went, right, well, there was like 20, 30 different topics we had to, like, that we really felt quite strongly about.
But it was disappointing, really, yeah, to have to still have so many things to be worried about, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. There's still no shortage. No shortage.
Oh, and you know, I think what's sadly, like, the reality lately has sunk in, because back then in the 80s, I was active in some political things as well, and I still kind of am. Like, my main thing is fighting against racism, but it's just like, it's like we take 3 steps forward and then we jump back 5 steps.
Yeah,
and exactly.
Like, huge backward steps, huge.
Yeah. And
that's what, yeah, it does seem to be going that way, because when punk first started, one of the things that I was really pleased about was that the Anti-Nazi League did the festival called Rock Against Racism, and that was the one with The Clash and X-Ray Specs and Jimmy Percy did some singing.
Wow.
And, you know, that gig, I remember going on the march. I was, 15, 16. I went on the march, which started at Trafalgar Square, and I was at the front of the march, luckily, and 100,000 people turned up. And that was the first time I'd seen a punk with a Mohican. So we're always spotting what punks look like and checking it out. And I got to the gig first with my friends. So I was at the front of the stage and I could see Jimmy arguing with The Clash over what they were going to do. And then Polystyrene came on, X-Ray Specs, you know, and I was at the front of the crowd. And it was absolutely fantastic to know that we were part of something that was against racism, you know, and that all these punks had turned out, 100,000 people had turned out, not all of them were punks, but it was, you know, it was fantastic to see that young people actually were like that. That's what they wanted. They wanted to be saying, we're against racism. And they were friends, you know, Polystyrene's mixed race. So that was great that she was able to be at something. But the thing is, based on what you're saying, that I think it was about, was it 2011? And Rock Against Racism had to start again.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they thought they'd achieved everything in 1979, and then there was a couple of other gigs after that for the first part of the punk scene. But it stopped because everyone thought that racism was, you know, we've got rid of that. But instead, like I said, I think again in 2011, they decided to put on another festival, and Polly went and did a song again. And you just think, oh, that's not good. Why is it going back again? Yeah. And so I think there's a constant need for people like us to keep saying, you know, we're against racism, we're against homophobia. You know, we've got to keep saying it, and we've got to keep proving to people that there isn't a need for racism in society. There isn't a need for domestic violence. You know, we've got to keep going out there and stopping it. And I think that that's why we say it in our songs and stuff, because people do come to the gigs, and that's where you can talk to them and say these songs. And they take the, you know, some people had never, like you said, never been seen as play live because we weren't playing all that often in America. So it was really great when they got our records and they could hear what we were saying. You know, we always write our lyrics on there if we can, so that people know what we're saying, because that's the whole point. We've got something to say, you know, and we want people to understand that they're not alone, that, you know, we feel like them. So I think that it is about us keep going out there and doing it. And I think there's different ways to do it nowadays. You can do online signatures for petitions and things. You know, you don't have to go out and walk the streets as much as we used to, but
yeah.
Still,
but that's where you really see it. Like, I mean, just spending the day online, that's where you see it all anyway. I mean, that's where it's all at now.
Yeah,
exactly. You know, like I said in the beginning, we didn't even know what a venue was like until we got there. You couldn't look at it online and check, if that's the sort of place I want to go.
You didn't know how to record music.
No, well,
we didn't have to record it. We didn't even know how to play it.
One other thing that we haven't covered is you've done some documentaries. Am I correct?
Yeah, basically. So I think it was 1995, I'd been working, I was fed up with working, so I thought, I need to go to university and take a break. So I went and did a degree in communications, but when I got there, they'd added audio visual production to it. So in my third year, they asked everyone to do a documentary, and I'd spent time doing this idea for something else, and I put in an idea for punk, and they were like, oh yeah, you could do a punk documentary. So I did a 10-minute documentary where I interviewed some of my friends, which was the women out of Crass and Boys and Girls. And I showed it to the students, and I was surprised by the reaction. This was like 1997. And they were like, oh, is that what punk's about? Oh, I didn't know that was a punk. Oh, I didn't know this about punk. I didn't know that. Why can't we see some more? So I was really, really surprised by it. And I thought to myself, well, all the documentaries that are out at the moment, they're always about punk, and it's always about the Clash, the Sex Pistols. If you're lucky, they might put a little bit in about Blondie, or maybe someone out of Express, but you know, something like that. But hardly ever did they mention women. And also, the people that were making the documentaries, they weren't punks. They didn't know what they were talking about, and they didn't include women. And it really started to annoy me. I thought, you know what? I know, being a punk for so long and being in a punk band, I know all these punk women. I need to go and interview them. And I was into oral history at the time. So I thought I'll go and get every woman I know, her oral history on how she became a punk. And, you know, so they all had these questions. So I did about an hour's interview of every woman. And the thing was, I used the equipment from the university. So they lent me a camera. So in class, we've got no money. We've had to work for our money, and it's, you know, we're just working class. We don't earn that much. So we didn't have extra money for cameras and stuff in those days. But so they lent me the camera. And I went to every single person that I knew and did an interview with them. And then I tried to make the film, but I didn't have the equipment to do the editing. So a friend of a friend offered me his studio on his downtime, and I used to go and do editing. But in those days, the computers didn't hold that much information. So every time I went back, he'd cleared all the information. So it was start every time. It was, you know, it was really getting hard. And in the end, it got to the point where that equipment was quite cheap. So we'd saved up, and Sid's pretty good on all the digital equipment. He knows how to use music programs and stuff. So he said, I'll learn it.
I sat there. I used to take a carry bag of beer and sit on the sofa watching TV when she was doing it with this bloke. And after about 6 weeks, I said to Zillah, so have you actually got any? Have you progressed at all? And so Zillah said, well, no, I know what I'm doing, but every time I come back, she keeps wiping the thing because someone else more important comes in. And I said,
well, it's fair enough. I wasn't paying any money for it, you know, so we were lucky.
So I asked, what program was he using? Because surely there's a way of hacking into that. And so I said to Zillah, let's find out how much it is, the program. And we did it again. We saved up every penny we did. We bought a computer that could just about run that. And then that's what we did. I learned how to use the editing programs so Zillah could do it at home and work 24 hours a day instead of work for 4 hours when you can get your stuff.
Yeah, so eventually, after Sid had learned how to use it, we managed to do an hour's documentary, which is okay. I mean, the thing that was difficult about it was
different formats of film.
Was actually getting the archive of women, because you know, you don't just want talking heads, you want to see who they are and everything. So that was quite difficult because most of them don't have photos of themselves when they first went punk, or you know, or anything really. So, yeah, exactly. I mean, I've hardly got anything of when I was first punk. Nothing, I'd say, really. It wasn't until around about 1979 when Sid's friend, who was at art college and had a camera, took photos of us. And they're probably the earliest photos.
No photos, right?
So quite. So it was easier with people that were well known, like Vice Versa, Polystyrene, Gay Advert, because there were some photos that I could use. But even that, you know, I couldn't afford to pay for the photos. So if it was copyrighted, or for instance, Polystyrene's music, I'm supposed to pay for that, you know, it's copyrighted. So a lot of it was quite difficult for me to put the music in and pay for it. So I haven't done that. But so I concentrated on women that I could get some visuals for as well, which was, you know, but I just wanted to make our story known, you know, that why we became punks, you know, why we felt equal on the scene, you know, start off with at least, you know. So I just wanted to put our story there. And also I thought, well, I know all these women, and some of them, you know, vice versa, no one's ever asked her stories. I mean, Polystyrene, she's been on a documentary by the BBC, so there's something of her. But people like Women Out of Crass, I've got G Voucher, I've got a whole hour of her interview. I've got another one with, what's Bron's name? Well, Bron out. What's her name?
Oh my God.
Eve.
Eve Libertine.
Eve Libertine, yeah, that's it. Sorry, we know everybody by their real name. Yeah, we're like
Penny, the drummer. I actually knew him as Jerry before he even changed his name. Penny.
That's what everyone did in the punk days, and at the beginning, everyone changed their name, so they all had like, you know, Sid Snot, Captain Sensible. Everyone had different names, and like we knew their real names. And in interviews, we'd get it all wrong. They'd all complain.
Do you plan on doing another? I mean, do you have any interest in doing another documentary?
Yeah, I do. What happened was, like I think it was about 10 years ago, we came back to America to see some friends, and we went on tour with Conflict just to see their gigs and stuff. And whilst we was there, we decided that I tried to interview as many women that I could in America. So I've got films with, let me try and get this right, Helen Keller. So she's done a great story with me about Sid Vicious and everything.
Got pictures at home. Sid Vicious is so funny.
Yeah, and then there's trying to remember everybody's name. Monica. So who else have I got? Diana Cancer.
Yeah, Mary, friend of mine.
Yeah, and
it's got
Kira,
Black Flag.
Black Flag. So what I've done is, what I want to do now is, so I've interviewed as many as I could when I was in America last year, and that was just by phoning people up and asking them, and they're like, who is this person, you know? So it's quite difficult because you're not phoning from like you know, the BBC or something. You just phone up going, hi, I'm Zillah from Rubella Ballet, I'm a punk, will you do this interview with me? And they're thinking, who is this person, you know? So a lot of people did agree to do it, and we've done their interviews. So what I want to do is a new type of documentary where it will be about the whole movement of punk, how it went from England, obviously, so how it came from London and spread to America and Europe. And I wanted to talk about the straight edge scene in America, and, you know, all the way that it changed. So we all had different ways of being punks, you know what I mean? So different scenes. So I wanted to talk about the American scene, but also I wanted to talk about how the Sex Pistols helped to move it around the world, you know, and make it a global scene. Yeah. And so I interviewed some people in Europe as well to talk about what it's like. 30
hour-long oral histories from 30 of the greatest women in punk. It's absolutely brilliant.
I'd do more if more women would, you know.
I have a recommendation for you.
Yeah?
Yeah, her name is Alice Bagg.
Yeah, Alice Bagg. I did try to get her when I was there last time, but have I actually met her since, or did someone?
You know, we saw her at a gig, and we've got her saying, "Oh, hello, Jill."
I was trying to get another interview.
She has an amazing story. Like she was
really busy last time we spoke to her.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to try again, yeah, because I had a list of these women that I rang up and tried to get in contact with.
We're trying to get Susie as well. Like Colin from Conflict knows Susie, so we're trying to get.
Very
Susie.
nice.
Wow.
Yeah, the more women I can get, the better, because it'd be, you know, everyone's got great stories. But the other thing is, as well as the documentary, I'd really like to put up each person's whole hour-long oral history, because every single person's got a great story to tell about why they were a punk and what happened to them. And, yeah, so I think for people that would be interested in punk, it would be great to do that.
So we came back from America and realised that all the footage we had, that basically the computer and the program I was using had gone out of date, and I couldn't get another version of it, and I had to upgrade to a completely brand new version of Final Cut Pro X, where everyone moaned about it, people hated it, and so I was like, oh, I'm not going to use that, and I stayed using Final Cut 7. Oh my God, then we had to upgrade the computer, the graphics card, the TV. It cost us about $1,000 to upgrade to get the computer at the right stage to carry on to produce to produce the final product that is of the quality that people want now. So instead of HD, they're going to want, oh, you got a 4K version, and if you got, you know, so it was like, oh my God, I thought.
Well, at least you didn't lose your. At least you didn't.
Oh, we're losing you, Dave.
Oh, we lost Dave.
Oh, is it? Are you?
Yeah, we just.
You're back.
Am I there?
You're there.
Yeah.
Am I back? Okay.
Yeah.
At least you didn't lose your footage. At least you didn't lose the footage.
God, don't go there.
Yeah.
Oh my God. They sold me a
That's
computer.
where I thought you were going. I was like,
no, well, we did. I just didn't
once.
tell you that. When we said, right, let's buy a computer, let's get the program, blah blah blah. I rang the people up and I said, I want a computer, and they sold me a computer, 2 dodgy screens, and I worked on that. And we were doing the film, and it was brilliant. One day, the hard drive stopped working, and that's how I learned on a very steep learning curve that you really need 2 hard drives, one to back up the other one. But I didn't know that.
Yeah, we lost the whole
And I didn't know that if you go over the amount that's on the hard drive goes, see you later.
yeah.
And I basically took it to these people, and they got it back, and they went, we've got your film back. And I was like, oh, thank God, because she was going to kill me.
Oh,
He went, there you go. It's on a hard drive. And I linked it up to Final Cut, and I hooked it up to the hard drive, thinking I was just going to click a button. And it said 3.2 million files, which I then had to go through one by one to see if they were we're going to sync with the program.
Oh.
Yeah. I spent like a month clicking on each one, and Zillah's looking at me every day going, how's it going, Sid? Yeah. And it must be 2 or 3 weeks later, I clicked on one, and they all went bing, 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 and it all appeared on my screen, and it all oh my God. So
Yeah, that's no good.
Everyone.
Me and Diana also have a radio show, so we know all about backing up, losing things, everything. I mean,
we're totally DIY. So we've had a lot of learning curves too.
Yeah, we've had a lot of learning curves where it's like, oh fuck. That's right.
And paying curves as well. Like every time, it's always cost us money. We've either, we had to pay to get some of it retrieved. You have to pay for different programs all the time. It's just constant.
I've learned so much. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like I say to everyone, if you're going to get a computer, literally buy 3 hard drives, one to work on, one to store your stuff on, and one to back up your backup.
Everything, yeah.
And then never use that, the backup, and unplug it, put it on the shelf, and then never use that. And then you back up, unplug that.
Well, I was real proud of myself for backing up all this stuff I had. Then I lost my backup. I'm like, where the fuck is it? And I lost it. To this day, I don't know where the fuck it is. So, yeah, it's a.
Not even map. There's a map of where your backup is.
Exactly.
You guys do do music, documentaries. You're writing a book. Is there anything that you guys haven't done that you would like to do?
I don't think so. I think, like the whole thing about punk is that we aim with the band is we get to travel as well. So, that's always a bonus. So I can't really think anything we don't do.
I wish traveling was easier. I wish traveling to kind of places like Cuba and Colombia and places that are kind of difficult. I wish that was easier because even when we went to New York, it was like we'd gone to like the center of Africa. People are like, well, I've literally never seen you ever. I was like, God, dude, it's right. And I realised how many places we'd not gone in the time that we'd had.
Yeah, so probably, more gigs.
So that was hard. Touring is really hard. It costs so much money. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. And does that in any way, Sid, affect, you have some health problems.
I got quite a lot of health problems, but I think of it very positively. I've had a lot of friends, because I don't go down the same routes as a lot of other people. I stopped taking a lot of the medication from hospital. I did a lot of research on them and found out they were very bad for me. And for example, I had ulcers on my feet because of a side effect from one of the medications. So I did some research on that, went down the rabbit hole and found out that it was actually making my feet worse. And then it said, well, if you do, don't take this other medication, which my doctors then months later changed me to. So I have. I've got like I have. It's like a bone. It's a blood cancer. I'm producing too many red blood cells. They call it leukemia, but it's got loads of other names like essential thrombocythemia, polycythemia rubella, and all these long names. The doctors.
I'm in the medical field, so yeah, I
yeah. So like you ring your doctor up and you go, I need help during this lockdown because I have cancer, and the doctor goes, no, you haven't. Because he hasn't got a clue what essential thrombocythemia is, or what polycythemia rubella is, or what
even though he's giving him pills for it.
Yeah.
So that's quite hard. The ulcer thing was pretty difficult. I can put up with the pain. Pains. I've been there with pain. It's just something you've got to just get your head around.
Yeah.
But the bandaging also, of my feet, like I had a whole suitcase just with bandages. So like the last time we came over, I think we could have probably done another week, but because my bandages, I hadn't used them up. Whereas when we went to Los Angeles, my feet they were a little bit worse there, so I used up the bandages quicker. So we kind of can go on tour as long as I can, up to the point of how much bandages I can fit.
Because he's got, he had ulcers on his ankles, and then they spread to his toes, and then they ate his toes, so they sort of self-amputated. So he's got no toes apart from maybe one big toe. So that was always a bit of a difficult one when we're on tour to actually have all the bandages and everything for it. But one of the things that we did when Sid was told that he had cancer, we stopped everything and we went raw vegan. So that was because, you know, when you look at everything you're eating, you realise, you know, if you're eating meat, then you're eating antibiotics that are being pumped into the animals. So, you know, and if you're taking your own antibiotics, you don't need that. Right? So when you've got cancer, you look at things a bit differently and you decide what you have to do to save your life.
I was drinking heavily as well, smoking cigarettes, and I did everything. I
stopped drinking coffee, you know, everything. So
it can be done. It's really hard.
We went raw vegan. Yeah, we went raw vegan.
Coffee and cigarettes. That's the big one. Coffee and cigarettes, man. That's
and alcohol. You know,
that trinity: coffee, cigarettes, and alcohol. That is because if you, I was thinking if I go to a bar and I'm not smoking, but I'm drinking, or if I was smoking, I wanted a drink. I was like, God, this is a real. Or if I was drinking coffee, I needed a cigarette. I was like, what? This is a real evil trinity of things, man.
But it saved him.
Smoking was actually harder to give up than drinking.
Oh yeah.
I was able to quit drink. I lost my leg 5 years ago. I lost my leg, and from a back issue, really bad back issue I had. So, but so I quit drinking. But man, coffee and cigarettes are still like the monkey on my back.
Simon said he still tries not to drink coffee because he has it with sugar. Now the other thing
I was a chef.
There was that time
when I worked at her place. Her trainees were going. They were teaching them how to make like espresso and cappuccino, and they're like making 500 cups of coffee a day instead of wasting it. I'll give it to the chef. So I was drinking like 60 cups of coffee a day.
One of the other things that you have to do when you've got pain is you've got to give up sugar.
Oh my God! Yeah.
So that's the main
I can
reason
say
for no
inflammatory,
coffee.
Yeah. People don't know that sugar is actually, oh my God, apart from it being more addictive to cocaine, it's just a massive inflammatory. It's just, oh my God, if you've got problems, which I actually had at the time, my legs swelled up to like size of a football, you know.
He was in hospital, but the hospital didn't know what to do.
They wanted to cut my feet off. And now I found out, I went to a clinic. I luckily said, I'm not staying today because I don't like the way you're treating me, and just give me some antibiotics, I know where I am. They were going to take me to the hospital and cut both my feet off, but I found out they don't cut them off at the ankle, they cut them off at the knee.
Yeah.
Dave.
Above the knee, man.
Mine was, my problems were at my ankle, and they cut it below my knee.
Yeah, see, that's what he's saying.
So, and me and my fiance, I have that, and then my fiance has a slow cancer, so we know all about anti-inflammatory foods. I mean, we just stay away from everything inflammatory. I mean, everything. It
was quite difficult, you know, to go.
Yeah, because everything is. Bread, everything you go that's good is an inflammatory.
We went to the hospital, and I said, they go, what are you treating your ulcers with? And I said, Manuka honey. And they looked at me like I was literally crazy. And I was
Really?
like, don't you know about Manuka honey? But it actually kills Pseudomonas.
There was only one,
which is the one thing that's taking a lot of troops are coming back with ulcers and stuff, and they're coming into the hospital environment, and the Pseudomonas aeruginosa something or other lives in hospital, and as soon as it gets to you, there was, I mean, one example. So one of the troops came in. He had amputated his arm. He came in with an amputated arm with a wound. He left after losing both of his legs because Pseudomonas got to him.
Oh,
and infected his other parts of his body, and because they couldn't get, they don't know what kills it. But Manuka honey kills it dead, man.
It's a raw honey that specifically says
it's unbelievable. So we spent loads of money getting that stuff in, and they thought we were nuts. Finally found it on the NHS. You can get it on. The reason why it's expensive because the NHS buys most of it,
but doesn't give it out or tell anybody about it. So nobody knew when he was in hospital for 2 weeks. They didn't know how to cure it.
These things are
yeah.
Oh man, and the pain.
Oh, they love that shit. They love that kind of shit shelved. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Shelf that stuff and take it away from the public. I mean, that's
It's like THC. My friend gave me THC oil. I was putting like 100 quid's worth on a dressing, sticking that straight onto my ulcers. And it was, and I was eating loads. I luckily had a friend that was he was the byproduct of making or trimming cannabis, the bits that falls on the floor, the dust, whatever you call it. He was making that into oil, and I was eating loads of that. And that's definitely. If anyone's got, I mean, I actually swear by this stuff. I think they call it Rick Simpson oil. It's just basically, you distill it with alcohol down to an oil. You burn off the alcohol, and what's left is, and you decarboxylate it, so it becomes. You can or you can't, but that stuff, swear to God, if you do a 60 to 90 day gram a day, I think it is, and it will eat your cancer alive. And I swear to God, yep, absolutely. I've got friends that have had bowel cancer, testicular cancer, and it's gone.
Don't they sell it in their herbal shops in America?
Yes, I think, of course. I went to California and I was chatting to somebody there that said to me, you can, I mean, I reduced my morphine by 50% by eating.
Really?
Yeah, because
wow.
Yeah, I was worried about my morphine.
And it brought your blood counts to the right level.
Yeah, I swear to God, my platelets have come down a bit. They were like rampantly in the 1500s, and they were really worried.
Wow, that's great. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's
my platelets are now without medication. Without any medication for the platelets, like platelet suppressors, they run about between 500 to 600, which is slightly warm, but not running hot like I was before. So yeah, I absolutely swear by that stuff.
Oh my gosh, man! My fiance have to look into that.
Eat it if you can get loads of it. Eat loads of it. It's as simple as that. The more you can get, the more you can eat, the better it is.
What do you eat it in? Do you just eat it? What do you eat it in?
It turns into an oil. You just take a little bit.
You can take a drop on it. I mean, I was putting it in. I was sticking it in, like make a chili, put it in there, stick a spoon.
Really?
Yeah, like a Marmite. Just stick a spoonful of it in there, mix it in, lovely.
Oh, so anything? It goes to anything.
Yeah, it's the thing. It doesn't dissolve. The only thing with it'll only dissolve in alcohol or.
So it's like a little sticky bit of treacle,
It's like sticky treacle. So I just eat it. I just eat it as is, man. I just put like a big pea-sized bit on my finger and I eat it. And I do that twice a day when I've got it, of course.
Wow, that's great.
See, to actually buy that made from the flour is ridiculously expensive. But the byproduct, you can make the same stuff, exactly the same stuff, with stuff with the byproduct they throw away.
Wow.
I've been on the phone to all my friends that I know do big grows, and I'm like, dude, you know that dust stuff, and they're like, so I've hassled loads of people, but a lot of other people have got onto that.
Yeah, we've done quite a few weird things to actually improve our health. I mean,
I made vape juice out of it, and I was vaping it as well, so that was supposed to be really good for my lungs, and because it goes straight into the capillaries of your lungs, straight into the bloodstream. And the THC was with I was putting added terpenes in it. I've really got into that terpene you can still have the effects of cannabis within a terpene that doesn't get you high, doesn't get you stoned. There's no effect at all, but still can like help with anxiety, sleeplessness, depression.
All those things that come along with pain.
Yeah.
All those things.
Oh,
so,
God,
yeah, that's a good
depression,
thing.
yeah, it's a slippery slope, man. If you feel slightly depressed, you've got to treat it right there and then, man.
Yeah.
Once you're slipping down that slope, it's hard to find, hard to grab yourself back, man.
I have mad props for you, going through what you went through, especially having like, your toes amputated, and you still play drums.
I had to stop. I mean, basically, the way I played drums was I played with the ball of my foot, like So like I said, all my toes on my left foot have gone. So
started playing guitar.
So I started playing guitar, and because I write the music and for the albums anyway, I've been playing guitar since we found one in like 1980s.
Sid actually, even though he'd never played any instruments before, when he got on the drums, he actually turned out to be a natural musician, really, because you can play guitar, bass.
Yeah.
So if you listen to the albums, it's Sid playing the guitar and the bass as well as the drums.
Yeah, because that's right. You were playing when you were at the Uptown in Oakland. You were playing guitar.
Yeah,
So he's been playing
with Matt. Oh my God, Matt's such a brilliant guitarist. It was it was really. Zillah said she walked out onto the dance floor this one gig and turned around, and there's two huge monoliths of guitarists standing on stage. We were standing right next to each other, looking really cool.
How tall is Matt? Matt's like 6.
He's 6, not that much taller than me. I mean, he's just about, well, I've shrunk a bit. I'm about 6'8" and a half now, and he's about 6'7".
Yeah.
He's huge. So with my stoop,
I know. I've known him since he was 15.
Have you? Oh wow!
Yeah, such a cool guy, man.
Is that in school?
No. I'm 50. I'm 52. 53. Thank you. But it's just like in the music scene. He would just, I think, because he was a musician back then, or I don't know how he would get. I mean, obviously because he was tall, he could get into clubs easier, and he was a friend of a friend, and just. Got to know him, and he's just really, really nice, sweet guy.
Oh yeah, he's great. Yeah. Really love having him in the band. It's great to have someone in the band that understands our politics, understands punk. Doesn't, he's quite happy to be dressed up the same as us as well. Because he sees it as punk, and he's quite happy to be extravagant like us. So it's been brilliant having him in the band. Yeah. Because Sid is playing guitar, but it's better. He likes to have a lead guitarist as well. So fantastic having Matt in the band, but also now we've got our band. We've changed our band now. We've got Matt playing guitar, but we've also got a keyboard player, Maria, who is married to Matt.
I know. Is that his wife? I was going to ask that.
Yeah, he only recently got married to Maria, and she's going to be our keyboard player. We've got a new girl playing on bass, and we've got a new drummer as well. So the drums also drums for Fangs on Fur.
Oh yeah, that's a great band.
Yeah,
my other favourite band.
Yeah, we toured with them in France.
They rock, man.
Last year, was it? We did a couple of
that's death rock. See, I was talking to Matt about it, about what's goth and what's punk, and that is definitely death rock
band. Yeah.
So we were saying,
would have been considered punk in the early days.
Definitely, definitely.
Them and Tottenwald as well. We played with in France. Nice. They're a great German band.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
It's nice to be with a lot of girl bands as
well. Wow.
That looked good, sounded good, And funny enough, the two places we played in America, both of those gigs were put on by women.
Yeah.
Those tours, we knew that they were going to be safe for us to play because they'd organised all the money, they organised us to get there, they'd organised all the gigs. It was Erica at the Skull Festival and Gina in Oakland. Both of them, great people, definitely worth working with,
And those two bands you toured with were female bands too.
And Oakland as well. There was, I think it was 60% female bands. Well, female fronted.
Great scene in Oakland, man. Really great scene.
Yeah. So, if anybody were to want to purchase any of your music,
well, we've got a Bandcamp site. We have a Bandcamp site where you can access all of our music for free. And if you want to donate, it's up to you.
But you can buy the records as well, obviously. But
you can buy them as well.
It's the digital downloads that are free.
Yeah, the digital downloads. Yeah, we basically
that's really awesome that you're giving them away and giving the offer to donate. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
When I used to search for music, I used to really get annoyed. You could only listen to one track or not listen to it at all. And if you're going to spend money, I want to listen to it, you know. So, I just thought it'd be easier. Let's just say to everyone, look, if you want to listen to it.
Not everybody's got money, so you know, it's nice to get a digital. The digital ones, it's fine.
When people started saying, "Oh, you can't charge for digital; it's just a download. Who wants to do download?" Blah blah blah. I was like, well, kind of got a point.
Well, you know, most records are costed on the actual vinyl. So
and
the digital stuff, you know, why shouldn't we give it free? I think it's good.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, that is awesome. The Danger of Death, that's your last album, right?
Yeah.
Is it still out on vinyl?
Yes, it is. That was released on Overground Records.
Yeah.
Overground Records. And we have it on Bandcamp as well if people want that.
So that's like, that's rubellaballet.bandcamp.com.
Yeah. Okay. And that's in, is that pink vinyl at the moment or green
vinyl? I think it is in pink.
All of our vinyl records have a free CD in it as well. And lyric book. And
so as soon as you pay for it, you get a free you get the digital download anyway if you haven't already downloaded it. So I even give out, if you buy like other merch, you get a free download or something anyway. So
and Planet Punk as well.
Okay, so what about merch then? Where would you go for merch if you wanted to buy a shirt or something like that?
Same place. rubellaballet.bandcamp.com.
Nice.
Great.
Do you ever do any custom work, Zillah?
We're thinking of doing that because we're just thinking about getting a silk screen and starting to customise T-shirts and things.
Yeah, we want to make our own shirts.
You know, I think with my clothes, they take quite a long time to paint, and because I usually do it all by hand, the painting. So when I started, it's fluorescent paint, but it's fabric paint, but it's in a big tub, so you have to get a paintbrush and paint it all because I didn't have a screen print. So that takes quite a long time, but. I'm quite happy to do some things for people sometimes if they ask. I was thinking of doing it actually because a crew came over from Canada and did a documentary about people over 50 and what they were doing with their lives. So they had some people that were skateboarders, a woman that was a black belt who was like 80, and they featured me as well. But in that, they took all of my clothes and like put them under the UV light and everything. It looked, that looked cool. So I was thinking, I might make a Instagram page and put some pictures up of my clothes and stuff. But usually, most people wouldn't wear them. It's literally too much for most people.
You'd be surprised, though. You'd be surprised. I'm sure there's a small market for it, though.
Yeah, I think maybe people that want to be noticed might wear it. But I did used to do, like when we played at all the goth gigs, like at the Batcave and everything, when we played there, I used to do clothes that I paint black and fluorescent, so it was more toned down, so the black would the fluorescent would really stand out at a gig, but it would look sort of still a bit black.
Well, it looked like it was suspended because you couldn't see the black, didn't it? Yeah. So if you had like a design on your dress and the back rest of the dress was black, it would just be like suspended. It's really cool.
Well, thank you two very, very much. I'm so honored to.
Awesome.
It's fantastic. Thank you for
taking the time out to do this with us. I mean,
And I got to say, this was so interesting. This was such an interesting.
Thank you.
This was just like, my eyes have just been glued to you guys the whole time. You guys, very interesting interview.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And if you guys want to buy any of Rubella Ballet's music, Bandcamp, go to Bandcamp, look up Rubella Ballet. You can find them. You can attach. You can find your merch.
And if you download their music, donate some money.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And then, also your documentary, She's a Punk Rocker, that's on YouTube, right?
Actually, I took it off YouTube because it had 60,000 views and they didn't want to pay me anything all the time. They kept saying that the music didn't belong to me, which it did because I put mostly some of ours on it. But it just kept stopping me getting paid, so I just took it off because I thought, well, and I put it on a little one where I tell people it is sometimes, but basically we sell the documentary for £10 on DVD. That's on the Bandcamp page as well. So what I usually do is I put it up for free whenever I feel like it on my Facebook page, or on, I've got a Facebook She's a Punk Rocker UK page, and I usually put it on there for people to see for free. So.
And Sid, when should we expect your book out? Is it still a while coming, or?
I'm trying really hard to try and get it out this year, because what I was doing, I mean, I've basically just been writing. When I get inspired, I'll write about something, and then Zillah said, "Okay, you've been writing about so many things, then you might as well stick it together as a book." So I'm just going to try and sew all the stories up together, of which there are loads of hilarious stories. We have had so many adventures.
We haven't got a publisher for it yet.
No, we haven't got a clue.
It's just he's writing it, and probably when we finish writing it, we'll try and see.
Well, that's kind of 66,000 words so far, so it's not going to be a short one.
Yeah, well, I look forward to reading it when it comes out.
That's cool. Hopefully it'll be an adventure. Hopefully it'll be like a little kind of sort of like being with me throughout all the adventures we've had with Zillah. Completely bonkers sort of thing.
Yeah, well, once again, thank you so much. And
great.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for taking the time to watch this.
Yes, shout out to everyone.
Make sure to like Rubella Ballet on Facebook, Instagram. Go check out.
That's it. We don't do anything else.
Facebook, Instagram, Bandcamp.
YouTube.
Yeah, it's the website.
We've got a YouTube.
Yeah.
And there is a web. They've got a www.rubellaballet.com. And that gives you like links to all of the stuff we do.
Oh, cool. Perfect.
If you
that was set up by Kitty Electra, a friend of mine. I don't know if you know who Kitty is. She's a DJ.
Yeah. No, I don't think so. Maybe I might know them by the real name, maybe, but I'm not sure. But thank you so much.